The latest episode of Super Dragon Ball Heroes is out, episode 5. I did have a chance to see it earlier this evening. The episode's called Decisive Battle in the Divine Realm, the power of time approaches. And you know what? It's kind of a rare day. It's a rare day when I can say that any Super Dragon Ball Heroes episode is good. They're usually just kind of just 10-minute cutscenes. That's pretty much what they are. That's what they're intended to be. But this episode was pretty good, mostly because of the respect they showed to Ultra Instinct. Some have even said that the respect that the Dragon Ball Heroes game or the universe has had for Ultra Instinct is even more than what Toyotaro's written. And I kind of understand why, because Toyotaro convolutes the thing a little bit too much, whereas Super Dragon Ball Heroes simplifies things and goes back to basics. In what to me is a pretty cool idea, there is a Supreme Kai of Time civil war going on with Aeos, the original Supreme Kai of Time, wanting to get power by gathering together the scrolls. That's pretty much been the main sort of pushing plot thread of this arc, the Ultra God mission. And the Supreme Kai of Time, of course, is concerned because of the power and really the abilities, the unique, magical, godlike abilities of the Supreme Kai of Time, which make her, well, I think it's a her, the most dangerous enemy they've faced thus far. And I like that. They did something here that I have not seen before, and maybe it's because I haven't played the Heroes game in a couple of years now, since I came back from Japan, and that is that both Supreme Kai of Times, the new one and the old one, can transform into these taller, more fight-capable versions of themselves, and we actually see that here. We see them transform to prepare for combat. That's something that's new. I didn't think that Supreme Kais, any kind of Kaioshins, could transform, but for the purposes of this story, there you go. Plus, remember what I always tell you. Super Dragon Ball Heroes is constantly trying to create new cards, and thus they have to create new forms and bring back old characters with new forms and new looks to do that. It's been going on forever. So, honestly, Dragon Ball is a series with transformations, so I'm not really upset about this or anything like that. It just came as a surprise because it does kind of change the way that I had perceived Kaioshins all these years. They had these this montage of these clips from previous battles in Dragon Ball Heroes, and I loved it. Really well animated, really well done. They definitely turned up the animation for this episode, and I'm not sure if that's because of the fact that right now, with the movie already being out, there's no anime currently running at this time, and the manga's even on break. Maybe they have better staff. The manga wouldn't have anything to do with this, and it's a different staff than who works on the anime, but I do wonder if maybe some people went over there just for this particular episode. That does happen a lot. You have a lot of shuffling going on behind the scenes of who works on what. And now that Dragon Quest Dai is over, those animators are going to have a lot more free time to work on future projects, whether it be Dragon Ball, One Piece, or whatever Toei wants them to work on. So this could be one of those projects temporarily until something starts getting cranked up that's more important than this. Something else that this episode did that Heroes rarely does is have somewhat of an insightful conversation. You don't see that here because they never have time for it. Goku talks to Aeos about the timelines that she's erasing, right? Because what's going on here is that Aeos wants to consolidate all the timelines into one. Think about what they did with Loki. Very similar concept, right? And you have the current Supreme Kai of Time who somewhat agrees with that, but knows that the other timelines have potential and there are innocent people. And that's what leads Goku into talking to Aeos about her goal of getting rid of the other timelines and how there are, he's enjoying fighting the other fighters. As a martial artist, of course, Goku loves to fight, but he's also talking to her like a mortal who cares about life, which he does. Dragon Ball fans seem to think that all he cares about is fighting. That is true to a degree, but he does care about, obviously, loved ones, and he wants people to live so he can fight them again. I mean, Goku is not a bad person. So he's over here straight up asking Lady Io, so there's innocent people that are getting wiped away when you erase those timelines. Is there any way you can not do it? It's kind of interesting because why didn't Goku tell Zeno that? Now remember, this is supposedly taking place after the Tournament of Power. It's different. It's hard to tell because it's Heroes, but it is after. It's definitely after because when Heroes began, it was after the TOP. So Goku's already experienced, Zeno, and probably would ask him this time after seeing what Zeno can do by erasing universes. It's kind of the same thing here. And I was wondering why Goku didn't do it in Super, but I guess I guess maybe he learned. I don't know. It's tough to say. It is something that I think Goku. They do have to kind of tweak that about Goku's character in Super, but that's a video for a different day. Then it gets even cooler. So Aeos tries to blast Goku with a freeze attack. Goku immediately shifts over to Ultra Instinct, Omen, and gets behind her. And even Aeos is like, whoa, the speed and the heat. Like, even Aeos knows that technique is I mean, we all know how well they built up UI during the TOP with the gods. Obviously, Aeos knows about it too. That is a divine technique. They have a little bit of a fight here, and Goku comes out swinging, with kicks and punches. Animation's not great, but it's good enough. And Aeos is dodging. Aeos is dodging the moves, because even though Ultra Instinct is incredibly fast, we're talking about a very, very powerful character in Lady Aeos. The Dragon Ball Heroes villains oftentimes are extremely overpowered. But when she tries to counterattack, Goku's dodging everything. So again, that's the UI speed, man. And even the Supreme Kai of Time, the original one, notes that, Cronoa, she notes that Goku is doing this to pretty much avoid getting hit with that time blast, because the Supreme Kai of Time's time power, is it ain't a joke. But Goku's UI is able to dodge it, and they have some really good cuts and good frames here. It's one of the more enjoyable things that Heroes has given us. Goku does what I would call like a modern version of the Warp Kamehameha while in UI. Up close, point blank range, just like how he did with Cell. And he ends up actually destroying the frozen space-time dimension. So, once again, they are elevating UI. And so I can kind of see why people are saying that there's more respect for UI here, because they really are elevating how much power he has there to be able to destroy a custom realm like that. That is important and awesome. And then the Supreme Kai of Time realizes that Goku could actually be trouble. This, I think this is going to be the turning point of the arc, where Goku ends up being the actual protagonist here, and Aeos totally flips on him, because she's now realizing that, like what Beerus said in Battle of Gods, that if left unchecked, these Saiyans could be really dangerous towards the gods, which it feels like they're going in that direction still in Dragon Ball, but I don't think Goku and Vegeta are going to overthrow them necessarily, but there's somebody else who might, and that's, of course, Frieza, but that's a video for a different day. I'll talk more about that later this week. So they show Mecha Kibura, who is a character I've talked about many, many years ago, one of the main top villains of the Time Breakers, kind of the leader of it all, and he gets instantly killed, instantly taken out. I guess it was a tease, but by Demigra. So Demigra is indeed back after a long time, and Demigra has sinister motives, of course. So Demigra is being positioned here as either the future, final boss of this arc, or a boss in this arc, to have something else to deal with besides just the Supreme Kai of Time, Aeos. So the next episode is a new Dark King attacks. The dreadful battle begins. For a Heroes episode, this was enjoyable. The episode's about 10 minutes long. I had fun with it. Most of these episodes are usually disposable. This one was kind of fun. It was cool to see Ultra Instinct. Anytime you can see UI animated, it's always a good time. You know what I mean? It's always a fun time. So check it out if you get a chance. Let me know what you thought down below. Tons more videos coming this week that I've been working on. I hope you enjoy it. Take care of yourself. We'll talk soon.